They talk a little bit differently, especially if you are a true minority in the situation. If you're really the only black, or you're really the only woman in a company. When my vibrational energy was a lot lower, I could be around other people that hated me too and never notice the hatred that was there. It's just like, I mean, we all felt the same way about me. So, there was really no delineation between how they felt and what they thought and what I felt and what I thought. So we could all kind of like vibe. We don't want to have our likeness, our image dismantled in order to build up someone else's. These are the founding, basic, fundamental principles of white supremacy.
Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, welcome to my channel. Hey yo, listen up, yeah. Hey yo, the wireless woman.
Shit, you in charge of the girls, right?
I am in charge of the girls.
Are you in charge of the girls?
I am in charge of the girls.
Okay.
All right. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Welcome back, Wi-Fi's, to yet another underground and under renovation transmission of the Wireless Woman. Go ahead and do me a favor on your way in and like this video. Why? Because when you like it, well, I love it. And if you haven't already, I mean, what is you doing? But if you haven't, no flex zone.
Hey. No flex zone. No flex zone.
Go ahead and make sure you subscribe to this channel. And click the bell for notifications of when I go live and when I upload new content. Okay? You don't want to miss a thing. I have been noticing a phenomenon, and I've told some stories on here about how I grew up. But in case you missed it, I grew up in North Carolina. Come to find out, it is the hotbed of the Klan. Who knew? I would think, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, North Carolina always seemed very progressive to me, but no, no. So I grew up beside Confederate flag flying, patriotic, Civil War reenacting neighbors. I was identified as gifted at a young age. So I was studying, going to school with the whites, socializing with the whites, living out in the suburbs amongst the whites. And so when I come on my channel and I talk about white supremacy, baby, I got a whole different perspective on it because I've been a Black Klansman. And the interesting thing about the Klan is it's a little bit different than other white supremacy groups. I know you're not supposed to get on social media and talk about it like it's a real thing. It's supposed to be this figment of our imagination, some dead, archaic, unimportant history. But, in the 80s, I was still seeing a lot of this activity. And one thing I will say, and Fred Hampton taught us this, okay? Because if I'm going up against the government, I ain't gonna lie. I might take the Klan with me, okay? They some real G's. They armed and they ready. They ready for an insurrection. And they showed us that on January the 6th. They ready for a fight. So, I mean, as long as I am not the target, yeah, I can put the Klan on my team. We feel like all white people are monolithic, but much like Black people, they are not. And I have found that not even all white supremacists fundamentally are racist. I'm a Black supremacist, so I can completely understand having a need to protect your own self-interest. I ain't aligned with them, but I ain't maligned against them either. I think that our government, politics, and a very complex structure of racism causes us to feel like everyone is our enemy. I mean, shoot, amongst blacks, you got light skin, dark skin enemies. We got that energy going. We got a caste system just within blackness. So I think that a lot of our thoughts about what separates us from other people actually come from way up above us. hmm But the fight for scarce resources on the ground level is what turns everyone into having a very questionable morality at times.
We, meaning the FBI, I tried to come up with signs of him doing drugs or something, and never could. He was clean. He was dedicated.
This can be anything. I talk to people who tell me all the time I want to be a millionaire, and I ask them why. You know, and I haven't found yet a really good reason, but they don't understand what it takes because they ain't talking about $1 million. They talking about millions. And people don't understand the type of oppression that you have to exact from people who are next to you, people who look just like you, people who have come from where you were coming from in order to secure that type of financial base. It's a power base. People want money because of the power, whether that be purchasing power or whatever it is that comes along with it. But in order to make and sustain millions of dollars, that's a very complex system of oppression. Even our black celebrities that we watch who have matriculated through the ranks of wealth will tell you, that they did it on some level of exploitation of their community. You just can't get there without stepping on someone. Capitalism and profit is about not not splitting the wealth fairly, equitably, evenly. That's the only way you get there. So, as I said, growing up, I saw these people. They didn't have much more resources than we did, clearly, if they were our neighbors. But they had these beliefs. They had this system. They had a pride in something that governed what they expected out of their communities, if you will. But here's the thing about these people, they were nice, nice, very kind, very helpful. I hear a lot of black people say it, and it's true. They've been treated nicer, kinder by white people than at times your own people, and especially other ethnicities, other minorities. I need y'all to get that together. Okay. I don't know who y'all trying to impress. I really don't. Each other, white people, I don't know. But y'all's brand of racism is for another day, for another podcast. However, going back to the black white American dynamic, us.
The two were connected.
Because we really are mirror shadow images of each other, whether you recognize it or not. Whatever problems you see plaguing black America, they are white supremacist problems. I can promise you that. But I say these things to say that growing up, I felt that tension. I felt the tension, the very invisible static of walking into these places. Like I said, they were nice, they were kind, but there was a line of delineation where you can feel this energy. I did a video a couple of weeks back called The Nervous System Knows. The nervous system knows. And it talks about how when you are in an environment where people have spoken negatively about you, where people malign you, there's something in your defense system that goes off, your early warning detection system that goes off and lets you know, hey, you're not safe here.
It ain't safe, it ain't safe, it ain't safe, it ain't safe.
And if you're black in America, you felt it. You have felt it in those spaces, whether you were followed or not, whether you were whether it was a microaggression or not, you knew. You could see it. It's behind people's eyes, especially when you get behind those enemy lines, baby. They talk a little bit differently, especially if you are a true minority in the situation. If you're really the only black, or you're really the only woman in a company, they make sure you know. But one thing about your nervous system is it takes so much energy to set off your fight or flight mechanism that if that alarm goes off over time, you become desensitized to it, if you will. Um, I know that when I was in a much lower vibrational energy and I had a lot of self hatred, because let's be honest, most black people are raised in similar ways. You know, your mama so black jokes. We're just not taught to love and revere ourselves, especially in middle school. I also said that in another one of my videos. We was all ugly in middle school. We was all getting the dozens ran on us. But when my vibrational energy was a lot lower, I could be around other people that hated me too and never notice the hatred that was there. It's just like, I mean, we all felt the same way about me. So, there was really no delineation between how they felt and what they thought and what I felt and what I thought. So we could all kind of like vibe. Once I raised my vibrational signal, I couldn't stay in those same environments. Even if people hate themselves for traits and characteristics that they share with me, my system is going to go off. And so is theirs. That's what I'm starting to find out. A lot of people separate themselves from me early in our getting to know you process. Yeah, because you find that those two things can't vibrate on the same frequency.
Nothing's happening. Nothing at all. So I'm going to remove the little weight so we get a proper A. A little bit of movement.
And you just inherently know that. Just like we inherently know and feel and understand racism in a way that we can't always articulate to non-black people. They want us to explain it to them. And if we had all the words in all the books in all the world, they still never fully grasp it. Not the way we do. But what I've noticed here, I won't even just say recently, but as a growing trend over the last, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 years, a lot of things about my social setting have changed in the last couple of years. So maybe that's why I'm more sensitive to it, or maybe there really has been a shift. Donald Trump showed us a lot of things about where we are in America. Unearthed a lot of skeletons in the closet that we were not aware had not been buried. The axe had been buried with the handle up, and baby, they grabbed it and pulled it right on up out the ground. So I don't know if this is new, or I don't know if this is just the right atmosphere, the right temperature, the right environment for the revelation of this phenomenon, but I have started to be in the presence of black men, particularly for me. I'm hearing a lot of black women say this about other black women, that they feel like black women have been harmful, but that really hasn't been my experience. I can't speak to it. There's a lot of black women coming out now online trashing other black women, and I feel like I totally can't relate. I just really do. I've parted ways with several really good friends that I had. I mean, black women who have encouraged me, who have given me money when I didn't have it, who have shown love, unconditional support, and encouragement to me in some of the darkest days. And baby, they gone. Baby, we fell all the way out. But they didn't do damage to me in our separation, and they are women that I don't have disdain for. They're business owners. They're women I have seen raising children while they're getting a college degree. They are women who have come to my actual physical defense and fought off assailants for me in some cases. So I'm going to always have love for them. I'm going to always have respect for them, because I myself personally have never been able to form a deep, intimate, um personal relationship with a no good ass woman. I haven't. I don't know what attracts those type of women into the lives of other women and men. I don't know. It might be something within you that you need to wrestle with. It might be a shadow manifestation of some really good traits that you have that you need to actually do some self work on. Integrate your shadow so that you're not dealing with it in your outward relationships with people. But that just really hasn't been my experience with women. I grew up in a hen house full of a lot of women who have spoken life into me, given me sage wisdom, just the type of life lessons that you couldn't pay someone to teach you. They're just too valuable. So I don't know. I don't know where the woman hatred is coming from. I don't.
What do you say if we form a new club and call it the He-Man Woman Haters Club?
No, ma'am. National Organization of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood.
All I see in my circle, in my community, in my environment is women who are trying to make the world a better place through political exploits, taking care of elderly people, raising children by themselves, getting education, buying houses. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've observed, you know, women that really ain't on their bag, really ain't about their business. I just don't know them. I don't know them personally. I'm like that white person who's like, I have black friends, like, but you can tell they completely out of touch. They only got a certain kind of black friend. That's me. I only have a certain kind of female friend. I'm just not running across these experiences just of being betrayed, maligned, stabbed in the back, manipulated. I'm not having those experiences with women. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's out there. As a matter of fact, if you got something put it in the comments. Let me know, because I'm always open to being educated about subjects that I don't know anything about. And I'm never going to invalidate someone else's experience. But I will say, if you consistently coming across the same thing, there is a common denominator. But I will say that I've noticed this phenomenon particularly with black men. I only call them black men because they were black and they were men, and the proximity of me being um close to these people is greater because they were black. But because I deal so much with white supremacy, I'm consistently calling it out. Staying sensitive and aware of these things call for you to maintain a certain awareness of it. Everybody would rather be numb. Everybody that I'm meeting and I know of would much rather believe these things don't exist so that we can have freedom that we haven't necessarily fought for. Like somehow we can vicariously adopt it, like it's reparations. Like being cognitively dissonant is the reparations for oppression. But for me, because I am still a freedom fighter, because I am still fighting for the liberation of black people, I can still see systemic racism coming down. I can still see the effects of misogyny. People would say I'm looking for it. Maybe I am. Yeah, like I said, that guy I was dating, he was like, "You're so hyper focused on race." Yeah, okay, maybe. But the more you call it out, the better you become at discerning it. And I'm starting to feel that same feeling of racism and white oppression and misogyny and patriarchy when I'm interacting with certain black men. You can feel their eyes on you judging you. You could feel this underlying disdain. You get asked those microaggressive questions like, "Oh, is that your hair?" Or, "Oh, so you must be hanging out with your girls and y'all." Like it's weird. It's a blackface white supremacy. And in the past, our black leadership have called that type of behavior out because, of course, back then they could still see it. They were still in a fight for the liberation of black and African people, so they could see that one of these things is not quite like the other.
Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
You know, I'm reminded of Black leadership saying, you know, they have Black bodies, but a white man. You know, speaking of those that were not going along with the liberation efforts. But listen, there should never be a space, an environment where Black women feel unsafe with their own men.
Which becomes like a phenomenon to me because I don't like white people and I'm afraid of Black men, right?
Our safety, our liberation, our freedom is imperative. It's synonymous with your own. And we as Black women are being told that you don't want to come home and feel like you're being judged on a white standard, like as if you're not providing enough, or, you know, you don't want this competition in your home. We don't want it either.
White women are looked at as success. In America, we see a white woman, I couldn't have you. My daddy couldn't have you. My granddaddy couldn't have you. I would get killed even looking at you. So now, if I play for the NBA, I want them all.
We don't want white standards, European standards of beauty brought into our home for us to compete with either. We don't want to have our likeness, our image dismantled in order to build up someone else's. If those people are unable to stand in their integrity without the degradation, the slander of another group of people, these are the founding, basic, fundamental principles of white supremacy. And I get it because I've seen firsthand myself in my upbringing the spoils of white supremacy. You know, the ability to walk down a street and feel like you own it. You know, we saw all this gang banging, killing in the hood in the 90s of turf wars. You know, so Black people have fought very hard to belong, to own something, to have some form of supremacy, whether it came from selling drugs, whether it came from, you know, gang violence. But this violence against your own women and children, against your own elders, is something that's so undignified.
What do you think I am? You think I killed 2 kids and a woman? Fuck that!
It's something that is putting such negative karmic energy in the air. It's something that is prophesying your own destruction.
Now, we're sitting around like fucking idiots preaching our own extinction, and it's clear none of you motherfuckers paid attention in science class. You can try to replace Black women if you want. Remove them from the face of the earth, and the rest of the world will continue to turn their backs on Black men as they've done for centuries. You actually think Anglo-Saxons are gonna welcome the dilution of their ethnic gene pool with Black men? Man, you goofy motherfuckers actually think their women are going to want to fuck with us after we wipe out our own women to reset the clock?
It's something you can't even ask for our help with. Okay, a lot of cracked out Black women built these rappers that we have. This is something we can't help you with. This is something we can't build. We can't fix. We can't participate in with Black men. This is something that is so, quite frankly, demonic. There's no other term for whatever is going on inside of some of these men who are looking with, white supremacist level disdain on their own women. Y'all need to heal. Y'all need help. And the submissiveness, the passivity, the oppression of Black women is not going to resolve that for you. I hate that the conversation throughout history around racism has been relegated to Black people's experience of it, because the truth of the matter is it takes a certain amount of mental illness. We talk about the trauma we endure as Black people because of the effects of racism. But I mean, how degenerate do you have to be to hurt, subjugate, rule over, colonize groups of people who are human just like you solely on the basis of their skin color?
Say that I think first we have to establish that racism, white racism is a mental illness. I think we have to face the fact that racism is a mental aberration.
That is the work. That's the question that Black men have to answer. Because you show the world who you are and what you believe about yourself in your treatment of your community and your women, your children, and your elderly. Your what we call vulnerable populations, your lack of empathy, your lack of vulnerability. You've shown the world that. And here's the thing: we can talk about these podcasters, but we've been watching this since the late 80s, early 90s, when y'all first started talking about selling crack and drugs to your community, when you first started speaking down about your women, how they wasn't nothing but bitches and hoes, how they wasn't nothing but tricks, suckers for y'all to lick. When y'all was running off on the plug twice, gang violence, you've been showing the world this. And Black women, because I have to bring it back to having these discussions with y'all. Black women, we're the only people on the earth that could create a Black man. And they came out of us, and we have created the environment for narcissism.
They did it to the Black man. They did it. And if it takes, at this point, a cultural nationalist say you got to walk 4 paces behind me, baby, slow. If that might be revolutionary, I'll do that. I mean, I'm going to do anything at this point that's needed.
We have continued to coddle these men, send them commissary in jail, and it's time for us to step back, because the judgment that's coming has us wrapped up in it. Like, they have literally come to the place of blaming us for all of this.
Want to know what's really wrong with the Black community is that the woman is out of her purpose and she's not a helpmeet no more. Yep. She's the enemy. She's more of an enemy than the white man ever has.
And see, that is the curse. The curse was that they would blame us, that they would work by the sweat of their brow every day and never, never prosper. And the curse was that women, we would spend our energy, our time trying to rule over them, trying to get them back in line. That can't be the legacy of what we spent our lives doing. And unfortunately for us, whatever happens to the community, see, I hear everybody saying we're going to abandon the community, the Black community doesn't exist. That's fine. But everything that happens to the community, because we are raising 70% of these children by ourselves. And we know that those numbers now, from what I'm hearing from new census projections, is probably up over 80%. 80% of children that are identified as being Black. We have no choice if we're going to take care of the elderly, take care of the children, and if we are going to make strides out of this community, because we've been left behind. We've been left behind. We're the only ones that are still considered Black. We can't escape the Blackness through male privilege. We can't escape the Blackness in any form, in any way. So those of us who have been left behind in this Black community, we are still responsible for it. That's what they're telling us. So now we have to take a step back and let the accountability fall where it lays. This is one of my longest podcasts of the new season because this is personal for me. I got saddled with something that was not indicative of who I am. That could not be. indicative of who I am. And all I wanted was justice. All I wanted was to be heard. All I wanted was to tell my side. I wanted vindication. But sometimes you have to step back, step away, and allow the contribution that you made to speak for itself through your absence. There are people that are not going to believe you, see who you are, see your contribution until you are not there. D Smoke has a song called The Rapture.
I risk it all to give it all right back to our women. Can't turn our backs on our women. Do more than chill and relax on our women.
Where he talks about a world without women. And there are men in our proximity, in our community, calling for our extinction, calling for our extinction. Whether that's actively through toe tagging Black women or passively through trying to breed out your image through interracial relationships. And here's the thing, they accuse me of being a divester. So I'm not here to judge anyone for their relationships. But what I'm saying is there's a very clear message that's being sent. And if you turn off that early warning system that's telling you something's wrong, if you fail to acknowledge that feeling within you, I I have felt it. I've been sitting with these men and I knew it. I knew the feeling because of how I was raised, because of how I grew up in North Carolina. I knew the feeling. It was so familiar.
This nigga here? That nigga there.
And it was the same feeling, new culprit. And it makes it hard to want to believe it because you're like, okay, these two things can't be the same thing, baby. Yes, they are. Don't gaslight yourself. If you don't gaslight yourself, you take away the power anybody else has to gaslight you. I want to talk more about this in the comments. I want to do more content with Black women around what your experiences are looking like. I'm not going to invalidate you. This is a place where we going to find and make safety from the world. I want this to be a haven. I want you to find and hear and listen to your own voice and not be gaslit out of what you know. I want us to grow our intuition and our discernment. A lot of people's discernment is off. Women, I know y'all feeling what I'm feeling because be like, what is up with my discernment? Your discernment is off because you haven't been following your intuition. Okay? And so I want this to be a place where we grow that mechanism within ourselves so that we have an early warning system, so that we have a defense against this fuck shit right here.
Is this your game? Huh?
If you see what I see and you feel as I feel.
But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek.
Go ahead and drop that fire headphones emoji in the comments. I look forward to engaging with you there. But until the next time, y'all already know that drill. Go ahead and clock out for
me. Section leaders, what is our concept?
One band, one sound.
One band, one sound.